All right, this video is going to be about Maze of the Blue Medusa by Zach Sabbath and Patrick Stuart. This is obviously going to be a video for people who are going to run it, so if you're going to play it, I wouldn't watch. But I'll let you know that you're going to be in for a very unique experience once you do get the joy of playing this. I'll probably never play it, to be honest with you. I'll probably only run it. That's my luck there. But there it is. This is an extremely high quality book. This is probably the best book that I have in my collection now, quality-wise. Super high production value. You got your blue ribbon here, but on top of that, we've seen that in books. It's no big deal. But there's just something about it, the way that it's put together. From the Smith sewn spine here, lays flat, fantastic. To the art by Zach, which of course is very Zach Sabbath. You can easily pick it up if you've looked at Ridden Pleasant Land or something else that he's done art in, Vornheim. It's very much his style, which is unique and easily distinguished by the eye. And he's done all the art in it, all the maps. And him and Patrick Stuart wrote it. They have kind of similar styles, obviously. They gel very well together. The end papers, you can see this is extremely helpful here. You've got the art map that Zach did, and then you have the sections broke down. All these sections and the rooms are hyperlinked in the PDF. The PDF is full of hyperlinks. It's extremely useful. And the back end papers have I Searched the Body and Random Encounters. It's laid out very well. It's a book that's made to be used at the table, and it tries to do its best to be easy to do that. That being said, what you're going to have is you're going to have a mini section within the section map right here, and it's going to show you a brief description of each one of those rooms, and it'll say more on it, which some of them say more, and then of course obviously that's going to be hyperlinked in the PDF, and then the next section is going to take you to each one of those different rooms, a more detailed description. And as well, it reproduces the random encounters as well as the I Searched the Body. So you never really have to flip back if you don't want, but you know that it's there in case you do. Color-coded by section. You can see there on the edge there. And it shows you which rooms are which. And that's extremely helpful to have that color-coded. And then there's so many NPCs in this mega dungeon that it has a section in the back called Cast of Characters. And it tells you where they are, brief description about them, and then it tells you what their wants and what they do not want. And that's very helpful because there's so many NPCs in here. They're so unique, so different, that it's easy to use and go to and say, oh, okay, I see what that person doesn't want, or what that monster doesn't want, or what they do want, and then role play them accordingly. So yeah, that's pretty much the physical thing about the book. I mean, obviously, like I said, super high quality. It's about 7.5 by 9 inches, a little bit strange size, but I really like the way it looks and the way that its size is. It smells good too, in case you like smelling books. So let's get to the nitty gritty of what this mega dungeon is all about. And there's no way that I can describe everything about this book, about this mega dungeon. To me, it's extremely unique. And obviously, if you've read A Ridden Pleasant Land, you can see kind of the difference in the way that that's written. And this is going to share a lot of that same uniqueness. But, what I like to do is to point out exactly how it's going to be if you run it, how it's going to be if your players are going to face, and the kind of mood or the sense of the adventure. I don't really go a whole bunch into different type of, technical stuff about how the adventure runs or plays, but I will tell you this. Maze of the Blue Medusa has got so much different going for it that it's hard to put into words for me. I've said online that it's an evolution of the mega dungeon, and it's forward thinking. It's away from all the other type of adventures that you may have played. It sets itself apart in its design, I think, as well as its just its scope and its depth of characters, of personalities, and if you read it, you'll quickly be amazed by just how different it is. between the different types of encounters, the way that monsters might try to kill you or interact with you, the way that the writing style is so brief but still descriptive and colorful, and really gets to the point without bogging down in strange minutiae. It kind of instantly flows and tells you this is what this is in a nice descriptive manner. When it needs to be, show brevity, it definitely shows that, but doesn't cut itself short. Um, but what it does is it creates a place that is an adventure, a mega dungeon that is so deep with characteristics, with NPCs, situations, with different rooms. It takes each room and says, and when I say each room, I mean, obviously there'll be maybe a storeroom here or there. There may be a small room here, but the majority of these rooms are full of unique creatures, unique goals and motivations. They might be in a situation that's unique or bizarre, something outside the box, something magical, something that can't be explained. And this NPC might be ancient, might be demented. It may have only one view about things, one motivation, like one desire. And it's almost as if when I'm going to run this, it's like I have to take each room and each NPC and just really try to make them their own, like their own story that's going on with each one of them, and try to make them come alive. They communicate different. Nothing here is cookie cutter. The game, the Mega Dungeon just doesn't sit there and say of course there's no orcs and stuff in it. Everything's unique. But to show you the contrast, a lot of Mega Dungeons just say, okay, there's 8 orcs in this room, and they're eating a beetle or something. Okay, great. This next room has this and this and that and this, and that's what we know, and that's all well and good. And there might be small plots here and there within a map or so, and but this doesn't do that at all. It lets every single room be like a new, strange, more than likely lethal, or just scary type of environment that the players and their characters are really going to have to either communicate, figure out what they're doing, and try to maybe use the NPC, befriend them, maybe backstab them. It's really complicated. It seems like a lot. I don't think that anybody can just read this book and say, oh, I've got it all. Okay, yeah. No. Each NPC has some sort of history, they've been there for maybe thousands and thousands of years. They're ingrained, they're decayed. Their minds are warped from the ages that they've been stuck in this maze. And with that, it gives them a certain depth of their character. And while, yes, there are random encounters, creatures, even those creatures are unique to them, to their own motivations, the way they move maybe around the maze, the way they interact with the PCs. So all of this has different type of uniqueness amongst it, and individuality in every room that you come to. It's really something amazing, I think, to read and to try to get your mind around. For me, I give kudos to both of them. Like, wow, what a feat that they've come up with in creating these strange NPCs, these strange characters, and these amazingly unique situations. The creatures may kill you in a different way that you've not experienced before. And I know that's, well, what are you talking about? Well, they may just do something that you don't expect. There's one creature I remember that if it hits you with a certain attack, it vomits up something like a little tiny creature that then casts your spells. It targets casters, and then it casts the spells that your player had, that the character had. I mean, just unique stuff like that. And a lot of them are very, like, dead set on this is what I do. Like, I'm going to do this to you. There's no other change in this monster's type of personality. It's been in this place for so long that it's corrupted to the core of it, and this is how it reacts to certain stuff. But then there's other ones that are much obviously more intelligent, and they're shifty, they're crafty, they could be they're nefarious, and this happens room after room after room. Unique, unique, unique. Different situation, different personality, and I think a lot of players this might not be something for everybody. It may be something that you have to kind of sit back and say, I've got to tackle this a different way. I've got to be open-minded about the way that this is maybe different for some players. Because this isn't just let's go to the bar, get information from some dude, and then we go to some cave and beat something's ass. It's not like that at all. And even if you do deep adventures, it's still not to the magnitude of the characteristics that this has. The again, I'm saying a bunch of words that are the same here, but it's just the uniqueness of the characters, the uniqueness of the NPCs, their desires and wants. It's hard to put it into words, really. I've struggled a lot trying to make this video, but it's something that when you look through it, obviously when it's made so well, that really helps. But you go, wow, what a vision this is. This is something you'd love to see made into a movie or something like that. Something, and I don't even know if it can actually do it justice. I think that you have to read a lot. You have to read it several times. I wouldn't jump around. I wouldn't read almost. I would read there's a main thing that kind of tells you what's going on in the chronology of what's happened in the maze. I would tell you to read that about 10 times, okay? Get yourself familiar with it. And then throughout your adventure, the mega dungeon as you're running it, go ahead and read it every time that you're almost going to run the game. And just read the sections, obviously, once you get into the meat of it, that the players are in, because within that section, you're going to have such different situations, different NPCs, and these things are insane. They're mad. They're corrupted. The area around them, the room that they're in might be strangely magically changed. And you don't know if you need to kill it, befriend it, backstab it, in a term, in a way that, you've befriended it, and then you're going to shank it at some point. And I don't know, it's just very, very, very different. And it's different in a good way. I don't know how else to say that. And it may be too much for players and for someone running it. It may seem like a task that can't be done to run this thing. But I think if you take your time, you get comfortable with the NPC, try to make them unique as possible. They already are, but the way to actually take that and explain that to your players, that's going to be a tall order for, I think, a lot of people. But if you can do that, I think you're going to be creating a very unique environment and for the players to have fun with, as well as just an incredibly abstract, unique experience for them. So I know that all sounds kind of muddled up and the same, but it's just very difficult to put my mind around it, how to describe it to someone else. And I can go, all the technical stuff about the book and how it's laid out, but really I think the nitty gritty of it is a deep story, an ancient story with a strange place. It really is almost, again, kind of like Alice in Wonderland, where it's everything kind of has its own little thing going on in it. This room is different. The stuff that makes you taller or shorter, the queen, what she's all about, like the difference in all that. It has some of that same thing where each being is a unique, it's almost like each one of them is like a boss monster almost. The way that the boss in adventures, the guy or girl who's messing everything up, and this is their big scheme or big plan. There's one of those in almost every single room, and they've got their own unique scheme. Obviously, there's a bigger story going on, and a lot of their schemes play into that bigger story. Maybe they don't want this person to do this. They don't want this person killed. They want you to kill this person. They want you to bring this item to them. And the way that they do that is in a very, again, a unique way of explaining that to you, and to the characters. It's made for old school games. I don't know how well a newer game would do, but I'm certainly would do fine. It doesn't give you much stats. It gives you pretty much hit dice, armor class, and the attacks and damage. And then, of course, it tells you a little bit more about the creatures. But there was nothing in this that I was like, oh, that's just this. No way. Things vomit stuff up, change you mentally, like your character mentally, might take you over, might make you fall in love with them. Just very, it's very just different. And again, I know I've said a lot of words here that kind of might not make a whole bunch of sense or just kind of are the same, but I do believe it's an evolution in Mega Dungeons. It takes it and says not everything has to be one story and you go through all this, things that are trying to kill you to get to that one story. It tells you that everything can be unique, everything can have characteristics that are different, and real richness about them, a strange, unique, decrepit type of richness about them. And really, that's Maze of the Blue Medusa. I can't really go into a whole bunch of different rooms and a bunch of different NPCs. We would be sitting here forever, and nobody wants to hear that. But you're going to have a task on your hand if you run it. And if you don't want to take on that task of trying to make this place come alive, I still think that you could grab a lot of stuff out of it. You could grab everything out of it. Create a unique creature. Create a unique magical room or situation. Create a whole story based off some of these creatures' desires and some of their plans that they have. And that's not even talking about the main storyline that's going on, that's happening. So on top of having an incredibly nice art piece book, you're getting a mega dungeon that is unique, different, and really thinks outside the box of normal mega dungeons and adventures. I know that it's nominated for some Ennies. It's nominated for Best Cartography. It's nominated for Best Writing. And I think it's nominated for Best Adventure and maybe Product of the Year. It really deserves high praise. And I personally think it could win all those awards. Now, again, it may not be for everyone. Someone may see this and say, "Oh, this is just so much to try to tackle." But I personally would like to try to tackle it. I would like to try to bring it to life. I don't think I'll be able to match it up with anything else that's out there other than possibly Red and Pleasant Land. Of course, that's from Zach too. So it's something that's like, well, I would like to try to elevate myself to this type of adventure, this type of mega dungeon. There are other great mega dungeons out there, and they do what they do very well. This does something different. It does something that no one else is really doing, and something people could say modern, contemporary. It says on the back, the hyper-functional mega dungeon of the 21st century. So obviously it's trying to bill itself like that, and I think it succeeds in that way. So forgive me for all the uniques and different and rich and all those words that I used, but I just trying to, it's just difficult to really explain the vastness of these characters. And it's almost as if there are no monsters in it. There's encounters, but they all have rhyme and reason for what they're doing. They all play different. And each time you encounter them, it's going to be something that's going to, I think, be very memorable for your group. And if you can get through this whole thing and your players can topple this, you're going to have tons of stories. No doubt. It's just going to happen. It's going to be very, very memorable for you and your players. So there it is, Maze of the Blue Medusa. Check it out. Check out the Ennies about it. And I personally think it deserves all of the ones that it's been nominated for. So there it is. High praise. Thanks.